You know what's crazy is that we had the first ever last lap pass at Kansas, and it involved a controversial finish with a wreck happening between Larson and Hamlin. And I feel like so few people are talking about it because of this Chastain-Gragson fight. I mean, it's crazy that finish alone would make so many headlines, blow up everywhere in the NASCAR world, but Chastain punching Gragson in the face stole the headlines, essentially. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that fight some more. Some drivers gave their input on it. Some on the individuals who were involved, and some just on fighting in NASCAR in general. And then I am going to do what I normally do, which is give my opinion on NASCAR fights. And I'm going to tell you what I think on the fighting rules that there should be, if there should be any, essentially. But yeah, let's talk about the driver reactions. I'm going to start off with my favorite driver reaction to the fight, and that is right here. Joey Logano sipping on his Coca-Cola as Chastain and Gragson try to fight it out. Joey Logano's probably sitting there drinking his Coke thinking, it's so glad to be on the outside of one of these. Of course, Joey Logano, he has been in his handful of fights over the years, whether it has been a couple of shoves or full-blown punches from Kyle Busch. But Joey Logano has been in his share of fights, and of course, there he is on the outside for once, looking in, saying, it's so glad not to be in here. He didn't actually say that, but that's just my guess at what he was thinking. But I love that face, just a screenshot of Joey in the back of the video, just, you know, like, yummy. But yeah, that was Joey Logano's reaction as they're now deciding to mow outside my apartment right as I make a video. Thank you. Next is Denny Hamlin. And Denny Hamlin, who has had his run-ins with Ross Chastain, has more than a lot of times voiced his displeasure in Ross Chastain's driving tactics, I guess. They've had their number of run-ins through the last couple of years. And of course, Denny Hamlin has been very vocal, as I said, and he has even retaliated once or twice, depending on who you ask. And Hamlin even got fined and docked points for retaliating on Ross Chastain. You would think he would be Team Gragson on this. Not exactly. He didn't really say what side he was on, but after Bob Pocker showed him the video of the fight, Denny Hamlin said this.
He told him to stop.
And Denny Hamlin is not wrong. So yesterday, we did not have the full audio when I made the video. The audio came out after I had made my video, and I had said, oh, it looked kind of normal at first, like they were having a pretty civil conversation. The audio came out, it was never really civil. Gragson came up to Chastain, and the whole time was basically just cursing at him, saying, you effing doored me, what the F is your problem? You know, saying that you doored me, and Chastain said, oh, I was trying to clear you or get close to clear you, and Gragson then grabs him and keeps on saying, you effing doored me, that kind of thing. So it was never like a, hey man, what's up, what happened there, can you explain it to me? And Chastain wasn't like, how about learn how to drive, you suck, and then, you know, Gragson grabbed him. It was always very hostile from Gregson's side, and Chastain basically the entire time was defensive. So from that perspective, yeah, it was Chastain was on defense the whole time. He was, the instant Gragson came up to him, it was always hostile. So yeah, he had to basically be in self-defense mode the entire time. So yeah, he had a right to punch him in the face, if you ask me. My opinion hasn't really changed, but that was Denny Hamlin's response. And then Chase Elliott, this one's kind of blown up more recently, but this is after the fight, like literally right after. It's as Gragson is walking away, being pulled away from the fight. You see Chase Elliott walk by in this video, and he says this.
Somebody's got to do it. I'm good.
And I can take a guess at what he means by somebody's got to do it. Obviously, we've talked about it on this channel. Everyone's talked about it. Ross Chastain in the last 2 years has had his run-ins with different drivers. Chastain's a talented driver. He's really good. He's won races, but aggressiveness has always been in his driving mentality. And sometimes it gets him into trouble. We've seen it with Denny Hamlin. We saw it once with Chase Elliott last year. We've seen it, obviously, yesterday with Gragson, Kyle Busch. We've seen it with a number of drivers. And sometimes it's even gotten to the point that Chastain, even if he doesn't do something, they blame it on him, like Christopher Bell at Richmond when Bell was not even close to Chastain, and then Bell got wrecked by, I think it was the 24, and then Bell just went, oh, Chastain sucks, or something like that. And then everyone's like, wait, what? Chastain wasn't near you. And then, of course, Bell corrected himself and said, oh, it wasn't Ross's fault. I'm sorry. But we have literally seen it get to the point that Chastain doesn't do anything wrong. But as long as you can see him within your vicinity, it's his fault. It's literally gotten to that point. And, yeah, no one's really done anything in terms of confrontation. People have done on-track stuff like Hamlin. That's about it. But people sure do like to talk and complain about Ross Chastain. They like to say, oh, he's a dirty driver. Oh, he needs to stop being so aggressive. But then they don't do anything about it. And they're like, oh, he says he learned his lesson, but he hasn't actually because, look, he keeps doing it. Well, it's because no one's doing anything about it. I like Chastain. I like the aggressiveness. It makes headlines. I think I said yesterday, like, he's the best on-track personality for NASCAR because he's aggressive. He makes moves that people don't think of. The wall ride at Martinsville, the Indianapolis shortcut. You know, even if he's not wrecking people, he's making headlines with his on-track moves because he's playing 4D chess and everyone else is playing checkers, you know? So Chastain is extremely fun to watch as a driver, and sometimes it gets him into trouble. And everyone knows about it, I feel like, at this point. Everyone is talking about it to the point that when this happens, people are going to comment on it in the garage. And Chase Elliott was commenting on it literally seconds after it happened by saying, somebody's got to do something, or somebody's got to do it in terms of actually approaching and fighting Chastain. Some people are saying, Chase Elliott, why don't you do something? Chase Elliott can't just go up to Chastain one day out of boredom and punch him in the face or confront him. Like, Chastain would actually have to do something to him on the track. You could argue that Elliott should have done something at Gateway last year, but, he didn't. So I guess, if next week at Darlington, if Chastain gets into Elliott, you would expect Elliott to maybe do something, I guess. But, so that was Elliott's thoughts on it. He basically summed it up right there. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to approach him, confront him, tell him it's wrong, and try to fight him, I guess. So Elliott gave his thoughts after the race, not to the media directly, but it was captured on audio as he was walking by Noah Gragson. And then Tyler Reddick on Twitter gave his thoughts. There's the video of the fight, of course. Tyler Reddick said, at least let them throw a few back and forth. And that's where we get into my opinion on this. And I agree with Reddick here. Look, this is nothing. Do not get mad at the people standing right there in the middle of the fight. I'm pretty sure that they said those are NASCAR security people. They probably have direct orders, commands, whatever you want to call it, that are saying, if the drivers fight, if anyone starts punching each other, getting into a scuffle, you got to break it up as soon as possible. They probably have direct orders to break up any type of fight. So they're just doing what they're told. They are doing what the NASCAR security people are told and, basically paid to do, which is break up any type of fight. That's just my guess. That's not set in stone, but that's just my guess, is that these NASCAR security people are told to not let the drivers fight, to not let any big scuffle, let them go up to each other and, talk about something. But the instant it escalates, the instant someone's getting punched, arms are being thrown around, tackling's happening, that's when you got to step in and break it up. That is just my guess. So, as they're doing their jobs, they're doing what they're paid to do. We can't get mad at them, okay? If it was up to them, maybe they'd let them fight it out and, it'd be pretty epic. But it's not up to them. They're NASCAR security. They're paid by NASCAR to be security, and this is what they're supposed to do. So you can't get mad at them, in my opinion. However, I think that should lead to what Tyler Reddick says here. At least let them throw a few back and forth. I'm not saying that we have to go until someone gets knocked out or something, or gets body slammed, or, like the WWE where you get up on the car and then you, slam them into the concrete. Like that would obviously be too far. But when someone throws a punch and lands it pretty good, I think the other guy should get a chance to fight back. Gragson did not get a chance to fight back. He wound up. He was ready to throw a punch back at Chastain, but he really didn't get that opportunity because NASCAR security was right there. So I think there should be it doesn't have to be a hard rule, but an unwritten rule that says if drivers are fighting, Let them fight it out until either someone's on the ground or someone, this is going to sound terrible, is knocked out. I mean, when you get a punch in, like the other guy who gets punched, Gragson, when he gets punched, his first reaction is, I got to get one back. I can't go out getting punched once and then walk away. I got to at least try to get one back. And he tried, but he was never given the opportunity. So I think if we're going to let fights happen in NASCAR, NASCAR's not going to penalize the drivers for fighting, which I do not think they should. No, let them fight. Let them fight. It's fun. It's great. I am literally getting notifications from ESPN, scrolling through Twitter, seeing Bleacher Report tweet about NASCAR. They don't normally. You know, Denny Hamlin wins the race. ESPN's not giving me a notification. Bleacher Report's not tweeting about him. Ross Chastain punches Noah Gragson in the face. That's going to be on Bleacher Report. That's going to be on ESPN because that's a big deal. You don't see a lot of that. So when these fights happen, I say just let them fight. Let them, go at each other. Let them get each other in headlocks, But the instant they hit the ground, the instant, there's blood or something or someone's knocked out, that's when you step in, obviously. So I think they should let it kind of boil out a little bit. But there is still a limit. You can't let them kill each other. You can't let them hurt each other. But let them fight a little bit, Just if Chastain's allowed to get in a punch, Gragson should be allowed to get in a punch. That's just my opinion. Maybe it's too violent. Maybe I'm psycho or something, but that's just my opinion. If you're going to let them fight, let them go a couple steps further. Let them both get a punch in. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what yours are on NASCAR fights. Should the drivers be allowed to fight at all? Should there be allowed a second punch? Chastain got the first punch. Should security have stepped back and said, all right, let Gragson get a punch too? Not like Chastain hands behind his back, but, like kind of boxing, wait for his defenses to get down and then boom, in the face or something. But also massive respect to Chastain's pit crew. Usually in these situations, this is how the Gordon Keselowski thing escalated all those years ago. The pit crew didn't do anything. Usually when a driver gets touched, like just the shirt grab, honestly, usually is enough for teams to go in and like freak out on a driver. No. Even when they were scuffling and security was breaking them up, Chastain's pit crew was like, nope, we're not. This is all up to them. They can figure it out themselves. Usually we see pit crews get involved. Pit crews were not involved in this. Massive respect to that number one pit crew. They did not get involved in any way, shape, or form. Respect. Massive respect to them. But those are my thoughts on the fight part 2. Chastain was in self-defense basically the entire time because Gragson was being aggressive the whole time. Let him fight more. I agree with Tyler Reddick. Chastain, yes, he has problems in terms of getting into trouble with other people, but it's not always his fault, okay? Not everyone has to blame him. And that's all I got. Tomorrow, I'll go more into detail on my thoughts on the Hamlin-Larson last lap incident. I said I was going to do that today, but people are still talking about the fight. Like, it's still being talked about, so I figured we'll cover that first. We'll cover the finish tomorrow, and then we got a throwback week. I might rate some paint schemes later in the week. We got some really, really good ones. But let me know what your thoughts are on the fight again. I'll see you guys in the next video, which is tomorrow. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Have a good day.